Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom lakam, which is peace unto you all. Hi, Rob Tawab la Adam, the Yakam Yawaman Rachagado, Charlotte, which is good evening. This is your brother Yawan from the JMS camp in Charlotte. Nachamatam Kaya, Hamalakwat Hashemayim Kwa repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Layim La La Abanawa Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rucha Hakodash Wa Mashana La Zakonim Nawa. Wamalaakim Sharuch which is our praises to our Father Yahweh, which means He exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai delivers, and double honors to the elders and apostles of our great millstone. Zayah Shaya, this is Isaiah chapter 62, and I'm going to read verses 1 and 2. But the subtitle, it says, Zion's glory and new name. Our verse 1, it says, for Zion's sake will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest, in which Zion and Jerusalem is essentially, names, that ultimately refer to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, Israelite foreigners, all right? Essentially the 12 tribes, all right? Which, in today's time, they're going by different exonyms and bywords, you see, but nevertheless, in the scriptures, we are known as the children of the Lord, all right, the Israelites. But verse 1, it says, for Zion's sake will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest. And first and foremost, for the elect, the Lord is going to avenge his elect, you see. But then also, the heathen's going to be judged for what they have done to Israel as a whole. All right, but again, first and foremost with the elect. But it says, until the righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof is a lamp that burneth. All right, and ultimately, the prior part of this verse where it says, for Zion's sake I will not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest. Ultimately, this can be precept with this right here. This is Psalm chapter 119 and verse 126, and it says, it is time for thee, Lord, to work, for they have made void thy law. All right, and ultimately the law has been made void, all right, on this planet Earth, all right, which the scriptures say, the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, wherein who is he? All right. So, Esau, even the so-called white man, is in rulership of the earth, you see. But chiefly the law has been made void in America, Babylon the Great, which the rest of the world has, ascribed themselves and taken on the ways of this place, So essentially, all right, being that, the law has been made void, all right, the Lord is going to enact judgment, all right, first and foremost for them blaspheming his name, all right, and ultimately, coming up against the children of Israel, but I'm going to read this again, Isaiah 62 and verse 1. It says, for Zion's sake I will not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest. All right, so the Lord is going to bring judgment, which the scriptures say, the Lord is known by his judgment, which he executeth. All right, the wicked is ensnared by the work of their own hands, roughly paraphrasing, so whatever, everything that the heathen have done unto the nation of Israel, hey, they're going to be rewarded for that, all right, pursuant to Psalms, the 28th chapter, verses 3 to verse 4, all right. But the latter of Isaiah 62 and 1, we'll go back to that. Isaiah 62 and verse 1, it says, and the latter, until the righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. All right, let's get this real fast. This is Isaiah, Yashaya chapter 45, and we'll get verse 17. And it says, but Yashar Allah shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. Hey, so, salvation is unto, the elect of the nation of Yashar Allah. All right. Not to any, not to any other people. The Lord is only dealing with the Israelites, because when you put it in perspective, what are the heathen being saved from? This is their rulership, So going back, Isaiah Yashaya chapter 62 and verse 2. All right, and it says, and the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all the kings thy glory, and thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. All right, and which this word for new, all right, it goes into chadash, which means to be repaired. All right, it means to, it says fresh, a new thing. All right, which, it's going to go into that refreshing period, that renewal period. All right, because for so long, we've been called Black, Hispanic, Native American, all right, Latino, all right, and whatever else, Esau Edom has put upon himself to ascribe to us as a people. All right, this is Dabaryam, Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 37. And it says, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. All right, let's get this word for byword. All right, this word for byword, it says shanayana, and it says sharp word, a sharp cutting word. It says something pointed out. All right, in which I'm gonna look at this word for guide, and it says a taunt. All right, Salah. All right, for Gaib, it says an insulting or mocking remark. It says a snide remark, a taunt, so putting this into perspective, before, the heathen, all right, whether it be Moab or Ishmael or Elam or anything like that, they come to America, Babylon the Great. They already have this connotation or this idea, so to speak, of Jake, all right, and they can run into Jake, that comes from some type of class, so to speak. All right, and they'll view them a certain way, and that's because what Esau puts on the TVs. All right, what's pushing the TVs, is those bywords and those different images, and how Esau sensationalizes things and uses those bywords, and that's essentially why the world has that view upon us. So it's almost like a stigma that sticks upon us. You see. But it's in ignorance, because we ultimately aren't black or Native American or Hispanic. All right, we're the Lord's people. All right, and that's why it goes into right here, because pursuant to the curse, the curses we went off, so that's the curses, But nevertheless, we're still the Lord's people, which the Lord is in the process of removing the curses. You see, which they'll be fully removed in the kingdom. But going back to Isaiah 62 and verse 2, it says, "And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all the kings thy glory, and thou shalt be called by a new name." That name new, or that word for new, is chadash, which means to be repaired, to be refreshed, to be renewed. It says which the mouth of the Lord shall name, in which we understand that we are Israelites, all right, by way of the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and those are likewise doctrine, from the brothers on down. All right, I'm gonna get that real fast. This is Luke, because the Lord speaks through men. All right, this is Luke chapter 1 and verse 70. All right, and it says, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. The Lord has always spoke through men. All right, so going into that new name, Zayashaya, this is Isaiah chapter 44 and verse 1, and it says, "Yet now hear, O Ya'iquab, my servant," in which, Ya'iquab, Jacob, goes into the 12 tribes. It says, "Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Yashar Allah, whom I have chosen, because Jacob was surnamed Israel. Thus saith the Lord that made thee, and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Yasharwan, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessing upon thine offspring." And my blessing upon thine offspring. All right, so ultimately, those that were essentially in a thirsty state, all right, represented, us, all right, because we had to be awakened by this truth. All right, so essentially, we're being spiritually hydrated, with these words, because the word is likened unto water. All right, because it hydrates. All right, it brings back to life. All right, it revives. All right, reading it back, Isaiah Yeshaya chapter 44 and verse 3. It says, "For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy offspring, and my blessing. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessing upon thine offspring." All right. It says, "And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourses. One shall say, I am the Lord's, and another shall call himself by the name of Ya'iquab, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord, and surname himself by the name of Yashar Allah." All right, and that essentially represents, us calling ourselves Hebrew Israelites, because we are declaring, in the spirit, that we derive from the righteous lineage. All right, which that's true. You know, because the scriptures say that in Romans 8:16, the Spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. All right, but going back up to verse 4, it says, "And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourses," and that's essentially going into the different camps. All right, so let's get this too. Let's get Romans chapter 8, and we'll get verse 16. All right, and it says, Romans 8:16, "The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we're the children of the Most High." All right, so we're not those exonyms and those bywords, those astonishments. All right, that have been ascribed to us. All right, which, you know, again, they came upon us because, you know, we sinned and we went off. You see, so rightfully so, the curses was placed upon us. You see, but what the Lord is doing, he's in the process of returning us into that eminence as which we once had. All right, starting with the elect. All right, but Romans 8:16, it says, "The Spirit beareth witness." The Spirit is talking about the word. It says beareth witness, which when something bears witness is a testimony. It's something that speaks of something, you know. So the scripture speaks of us. All right, and essentially it's a testament with our spirit. It resonates with our spirit because this is what happened to us as a people. All right, we're called those exonyms, those bywords. We're viewed by the other nations as an astonishment. All right, we're the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak. All right, we're the tail. All right, Esau's the head. All right, that fits us as a people. All right, predominantly. All right, because you do got some Jake, you know, that's a little well off better than others. You see, but nevertheless, you know, they still fit the curses, and the scriptures still resonate with their spirit. All right. Let me go back to Isaiah chapter 62, and we'll read verses 1 and 2 again. It says, "For Zion's sake will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest, because the Lord is bringing judgment, until the righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth." You know, and ultimately, you know, the Lord is going to deliver the elect of the nation of Israel, you know, from destruction. So it says, verse 2, "And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all the kings thy glory, and all kings thy glory, and thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name." And essentially, you know, the end was prophesied from the beginning. All right, the Lord had already prophesied what was going to happen. All right, and what was going to happen upon the planet Earth. All right, aforetime. You know, so everything again, you know, was prophesied. All right, so and it's just everything is just playing out. All right, in which, you know, again, the Lord is in the process of you know, putting us back into that eminent position as, you know, we're rightfully supposed to be. All right, it's just that, you know, prophecy had to play out. You know, so I just wanted to go into that. Adorar Tazaza Banaya Paulo was with us, a beautiful edification through the spirit. Wa Adorar Tazaza Adam Yashlai Lata Wab, Lord as well. You have a good night. Wa Shalom Lakam, which is peace unto you all. Hey, Shalom, Shalom.